Hello and welcome everyone to our Exponential Potential podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Evans, aka Zen Jen. And today we're diving deep into a topic that's more relevant than ever. Resilience and reflection. And in a world that's constantly changing, how do we not just survive? How do we actually thrive? And today I have the pleasure of interviewing a remarkable individual who's on a mission to ignite leaders and entrepreneurs everywhere. My cohort, co host, and expert of the day, Claire Oatway.
Hello.
Claire is in the house.
Hello.
And hello. Um,
Mhm.
Claire believes in the power of fusing bold ideas and deep purpose and practical action. Together, we'll explore how embracing our potential can help us create a future that's not just vibrant, but also resilient and full of possibility. So,
Mm.
whether you're a seasoned leader or just starting your journey, get ready to be inspired and let's uncover the transformative power of reflection and resilience and discover how we can all step into our greatness. So, welcome, Claire. It's so good to be with you, as always.
Hey, Jen. Well, I am loving this series, and throughout December we've been looking at different aspects of resilience and reflection, and kind of naturally this time of year we retreat. We're kind of starting to coil back before the new year, and all of that spring energy comes forward. So I think this is, definitely a really yummy way to work in congruence with nature. So
Yes,
yeah.
yeah. And what I find interesting about this season, as you're saying, it is naturally it's a time where we retreat and reflect, but there's so much outward stuff going on. There's so many demands on us, pulling us left, right, and center. Um, and I think that might be one of the reasons people struggle because it is naturally our time to withdraw and hibernate. And yet there's all this external, there's parties and balls and Christmas decorations and shopping and socializing and family. It's kind of a bit of a tug of war. So I think this is a really good episode to help people see the importance of taking time out to reflect.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I think we've done over the last few sessions, we've done a lot around kind of personal reflection and all those aspects that are going on in your life, and how to celebrate in terms of relationships, in terms of your health, and other aspects. So today I'm really excited to think about how you reflect as a leader, how you
Mm.
reflect from a career perspective, looking back over the last year and preparing. And I know that we've got another deep dive coming in soon, so I won't steal that thunder. But actually I think reflection as a leader helps us to tap into wisdom in a way
Mm.
that no other exercise does.
Yeah. Yeah. So, can you expand on that and share a personal experience where reflection has helped you navigate a significant change or challenge in your life? And what insights did you gain from that experience?
Yeah, and well, really quick plug. There's a really great reflective exercise that we're uploading to this episode. So, go and play with this one because I am going to be referencing it. But I think at times of change, at times of career pivot, for example, it's really key to step back and examine who you are. We've talked a lot about identity and how our identity gets wrapped up in a role or a job position. And you kind of lose sight of who you are and the skills you've got. You kind of just think that you are what it says on your badge. So for me, after I've had a couple of different career pivots that have taken me to different industries. And as I was recovering from, burnout, most recently, I was a bit stuck. I was, starting to recover emotionally, but not really sure where next. And kind of naturally, your self-esteem is really low. You kind of like, well, I don't know what to do. But actually, reflection over over your lifetime, really, in terms of what you've done well, what you've overcome, the challenges that you've faced, the successes that you've had, how you've invested in yourself, makes you realize that this is just a small moment in time.
Mm.
And it's a great way to spot the patterns in your life. It's a brilliant way to understand, your strength and fortitude, because you can see it in black and white. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot that, I overcame 2 rounds of fertility treatment and all of that hell. You forget these things. I forgot the death of a mentor and,
Mm.
what that meant to me. Um, but you kind of take it for granted. And I think going through the reflective exercise, we call it the perfectly written novel, helps you to realize, who you are, how strong you are, and it's a really great way to build up the fortitude for the next steps, and also to spot some of the directions of the next steps. So,
Mm.
from my personal experience, reflections been great there. And I think back to corporate times, and reflection is naturally built into the personal development cycle with appraisals. And if appraisals are done well, if
If.
yeah, they're a great opportunity for you to think back over the last year. Think
Mm.
about, how you've thrived, how you've grown in the context of the organization, what you've offered, and then start to look forward to the next.
Mm. It gives you a fresh perspective, doesn't it? Helps you
Yeah.
look at it from new eyes, fresh eyes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as children, we get that naturally through school reports, don't we?
Mm.
Kind of get this,
Mm.
or
Oh
kind of
God.
our parents give us the tap on the back. But actually, as we become adults and as we become entrepreneurs and leaders, it's we have to play that role for ourselves. We have to do our own school reports. We have to hold ourselves accountable, and we have to celebrate and recognize the growth.
Yes, and I think that's a really key part as well, isn't it? Is looking at the celebrations of what you've achieved. So, in your opinion, how is reflection important for building resilience, especially in times of upheaval? And how it, and talking of perspective, how it can change your perspective on challenges.
Yeah. Well, I think many listeners will relate, and I'm sure you do as well, Jen, that sometimes when you're caught in the emotion of a moment, it can feel like the volume is turned right up.
Mhm.
You can kind of often lose perspective. And so a reflective activity can help you to spot patterns if it's a particular person, or kind of this is a pattern, what's going on for them. um in terms of my listening style, I'm an active listener and also a reflective listener. So I'm digging down deeper to understand what might be driving the communication that's in front of me,
Mm.
particularly in a work environment, because we all have bad days, we all have lives outside work, we all have bodies that sometimes work and sometimes don't. um, and so it's really important at those moments, as well as moments after, to step back and reflect. And I think it also brings a level of detachment, so you understand and can reflect on how you were in that, and whether you're not actually going to die, you're not actually going to lose your job, you're not actually going to get a
Mhm.
divorce because of one incident.
Mm.
So that separation again helps you to get that volume dial back down, and to start to think about strategies for moving forward.
Mm. And then that's very useful to use in your personal life. All of what you're saying is highly beneficial to turn that, turn it both for work and personal life.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So how do we do this? What practical strategies or techniques do you recommend for our wonderful listeners to incorporate reflection into their daily lives, not just this time of year, but every day? Are there any methods that have really worked well for you?
And the absolute gold standard is journaling. But actually, I have to confess, I don't allow enough time for journaling. I know how soothing and healing it can be when you have things outside your head, because otherwise the squirrels are juggling with all of your worries inside your head. So journaling is a great way to just spill it all out. It kind of again gets control of this inner dialogue that's going on, and also creates a detachment and a sense of logic and pragmatism, because you can see it on the page. It activates your other problem solving abilities. So journaling would be ideal. Again, for many people, it you just slip out of the habit.
Yeah, there can be a little bit of resistance against journaling. Um, and I know I've done that as well, where I've known that writing, allowing just the pen to flow, there's no right or wrong way of doing it, but just being in the zone, being present, and just allowing yourself to write and wherever it takes you. And as you say, I think I just want to sort of hone in a bit more on the getting it out of your head, because when it's in your head, it's just spinning and spinning and spinning, and all you're doing is just keep that thought just keeps spinning around in your head, and there's nothing that you can really do with it. You can't grasp it. So yeah, I think the importance of journaling is key if you want to have if you want reflection, use reflection, and to be able to look at it with perspective and have a tool that really helps you to move you forward, to get yourself present and grounded.
But there's nothing stopping you having a pad to one side throughout the day, for example. So I've noticed where I'm juggling multiple projects at any time, it leads to procrastination at times. And so, for example, one of the questions that I have in mind is, why am I avoiding this? What am I fearing? What's going on? So that if I'm catching myself doing that, I just write it down at that moment. I don't judge what comes out. It's like, okay, write it down
Mm.
and then move forward. Similarly, when we talk about the process of manifestation, for example, we talk about feelings and summoning feelings. So you can, at different points in the day, just check in with yourself. It's like, what am I feeling? What am I feeling? Okay. And I think if you can catch that emotion, if you can catch that feeling, you can celebrate it or choose whether you want to shift it and how you might
Mm.
shift it. It's all really good practice.
Yeah, I think it might be helpful as well if you have a couple of questions, core questions, that when you are journaling, you have like maybe 3 to 5 core questions that you ask yourself. You have them ready, because sometimes we can't think of the question at the time.
Yeah.
So if you have those questions already written down, if you go back to that question, like say, how am I feeling? Is this actually what I'm seeing? Is this true? And whatever the question, just jot down a couple of questions that will help you uncover that and explore it more, so that you can journal about it. And then once you're in your flow, you're in your flow and you're off.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Definitely.
so in terms of community, we're talking about work, and this community could be your work community, it could be your local community. Um, how do you think fostering a culture of reflection within communities can help individuals collectively navigate the apocalyptic changes? And one, can you explain apocalyptic? And two, can you provide examples of this action?
So, so you know that I love a play on a word, really. And for me, around AI, there are two quite different camps that are going. One is that AI is amazing and we have to build it, we have to get to AGI, and then everything will be wonderful and we'll never have to work again, and then we'll be on Mars and all the robots will do all the work and we'll be happy and rich.
All the
the other
robots,
side is,
hang on, all the robots will do the work and we'll be happy and rich.
yeah,
I love that.
yeah.
Okay.
The other side is that the robots will take over and we'll discover nuclear war and then we'll all be dead. Um, so quite apocalyptic, really.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, you know, I'm an optimist about technology. I'm an optimist about AI. Maybe not in the full-blown abstract Elon utopia. Um, but actually, I am optimistic about the change, and I do see this as a change of an era. This is a step change in our evolution, much as there's a significant change in terms of spirituality and awakening that's going on at the moment. I think AI as an external force is moving us forward as a species. So I have started to think about this as an apocalyptic moment where the last epoch, the last era is dying and it's making way for a new era. Not apocalyptic, it's not the end of everything, it's just the end of that phase in who we are.
It's
So,
like, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, and
Um,
you look at history and you look at how that's changed. Electricity was huge, wasn't it? The industrial um, times, and there has been massive change where, and it change. I think it just comes with fear, doesn't it? Naturally,
yeah.
and of course, watching all those apocalyptic type movies,
Well, yeah. It it
kind of.
it it does. And also where I've been involved in technology and reading about technology and policy for a number of years in the future work, a lot of what we're seeing is true because they were nascent technologies 5, 10 years ago, and they're coming to the market and they're exciting people. So now people are starting to apply them. So to some extent, what's happening now is relatively predictable. Kind of that window gets larger and larger, and at some point it becomes unknown. But for the moment, these are changes that we have expected to see for some time. Now, the importance of reflection is that you can hold that space. You can kind of go, look, this isn't a dramatic change. It's not the end of the world, but this is a shift, and we can make this shift together. So that can be through, specific team meetings. It could right the way through to offsite workshops. But it's important to be together, away from the noise and the emotion in the background, and reflect on: is this what we're expecting to see? Does it fit with our narrative? If yes or no, what do we do next? But we're very often caught in a busyness cycle that stops us from valuing that time. And yet it actually makes us so much more productive, and we'll breathe life into our approach over the next year. So it's absolutely
Mm.
key.
So, do you think there are any other challenges and the big challenges that we might face in the coming years as these things
Yeah.
unfold?
Well, I mean, we've really still in the grip of the post-COVID response in terms of motivation and in terms of being back in work. If you add to that the generational changes in attitude as well that are coming through, there's not as strong a loyal power force as we may have seen in the past in terms of businesses.
Mm.
So I've got another word for this one. I've only got these two new words, I promise. But this one is a bit like a meh laze, not a malaise, but a meh laze. And it's a kind of
Mm.
apathy and I'm kind of here, but I'm checked out. And not to be too harsh on that, because there is so much change that's going on at the moment that is beyond our control, that is driving up uncertainty and anxiety, and a very natural human response is to retreat and to feel safe. And that can, that can come through as a "Nah, nah, what's it all for?"
Mm.
Eh,
Mm. Like it's a protective mechanism, isn't it? I don't want to get in, I don't want to engage in this, because if I'm too engaged in it, I'm going to get anxious about it. So I'm just going to be really level. Uh,
yeah,
whatevs,
it's
whatevs.
it's really curious, because I notice when people don't feel in control, there are two ways that they can respond. There's more than two, but there's two really strong patterns that I see. One is that they surrender completely and just go, nope, nothing I can do. Or this has happened before. There's no point wasting energy getting excited about it. Um, so you have that meh response. The other end is that you get people shifting to micromanaging and
Mm.
holding really, really tightly on things that don't actually matter as much. So if you find your boss or kind of a member of your team picking you up on spelling much more than they ever have, it's because they're feeling out of control somewhere else in their life. And this
Mhm.
task that's in front of them, they know that they can control. So let's just get over all of that bullshit. Let's just deal with that first. What's going on here? Let's reflect on it and see what we can do, because this undoes both
Mm.
both this kind of hyper control and hypo control aren't helpful for groups moving forward.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think it's focusing on, as you said, focusing on the what really matters, what truly matters. Letting go of the things that you can't control,
Mm.
focusing on your doing you, and what can you bring that's going to make a difference, it's going to serve the team, the company, your business,
Yeah.
and not get in the detail of the nitty gritty, picky.
So, I mean, this is one for the UK audience, I know, but we are all like little poo sticks that have been thrown off a bridge, flowing down a river really fast. Some of us are moving fast, some of us are moving slow, but we're generally being pushed along the river of time and the river of change and the river of technology and everything else. That's all going on at the moment. And when you're there, you can feel really in it and you can feel completely out of control. At times, you might get moved to the side, to the banks, and that's a chance to reflect, the chance to stop and go, oh, okay, this isn't that bad actually, because I'm going towards the river, or I'm going towards this different place. This is good. Or maybe I need to be there. And then you get pulled out again. But you have to step back at least consciously for short moments of time to create the distance to reflect and then move forward.
Mm. And something I just want to add in terms of when places to reflect, because it is such a busy, noisy world that we live in, you know, take that time, go to the beach, go into nature, go into the woods, go for a walk,
Yeah,
or get yourself a nice cup of tea and
yeah.
sit in a cozy environment where you are not going to be disturbed.
And
I
you
think,
know
and
what?
give yourself permission to allow that.
All of those suggestions ignite that self-compassion and rest and time. The double bonus of getting out in nature is that you're surrounded by inspiration. And when you're surrounded by inspiration, you'll be surprised at how quickly you become creative. So
Mm,
it's yeah.
mm.
So I'd add go to an art gallery and just sit in an
Yes,
art gallery.
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. If you can't get to nature, you're in the middle of a city. Maybe there's a park, maybe there's a gallery, maybe there's somewhere that you feel inspired or you feel calm and peaceful and tranquil. The other thing with nature, because nature, and we are part of nature, we're not separate, we are of nature, but I just want to highlight everything in nature is in perfect harmony and balance. So when you're in that, you feel that energy as well. You feel that peace and that harmony. And I think that really helps ground people and get them in the place where they're able to reflect. Because you can't reflect when your mind is going 100 miles an hour. You have to slow down.
Or when you're in a busy office and you're triggered by all of the calls, or people can get hold of you or interrupt you, and and also it doesn't have to be a 3-day retreat.
No, it could be. It could be.
It could be. That might work. But actually, just use these micro moments that are in your power. Use them now.
Yeah. It could be just stepping out of the office, couldn't it, as well? Just moving away from your desk and finding somewhere quiet that you can sit or go for a few minutes. Maybe it's even in the toilet, in the bathroom for a few minutes, just to get some peace and quiet.
Yeah. This is where I've always been jealous of the smokers. Honestly.
I know.
It's just like they get to go outside in the fresh air for 5 minutes. And
but what's stopping anybody from doing that? You don't have to be a smoker to do that. You can go outside. You might not want to stand with the smokers, but you might just want to, why not take 5 minutes and go outside and take a few deep breaths? Why not?
For sure.
Yeah. Thank you, Claire. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I think only that I'd really encourage people to have a look at the Perfectly Written Novel. For an individual reflection tool for anyone that's going through transition or anyone that's trying to look at their purpose. It's a really nicely framed exercise that takes you through. Obviously, if anybody is listening to this and thinks, oh, you know what, I could actually do with a team lunchtime session, what would that look like? Reach out, and I can either support you directly or make some recommendations in terms of activities that you can do, questions you can ask, and get you going from there. But I just want to circle back and to a point that I made earlier in this session, which was that reflection is the route to wisdom, and AI in itself, what we will see are masses of data and masses of knowledge all coming through. Just the pipeline is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But what becomes rare in that environment is wisdom. It's all knowledge, no wisdom. And what we do naturally as we evolve, as we grow, particularly as women, we reflect and we learn and we absorb those lessons. So that's where wisdom comes from. So this is a total game changer in terms of your professional life. It's a game changer in terms of your sanity and your health and your vitality as well. So I really champion this, and I really, really, really do want our listeners to think about this quite carefully and how they could start to bring this in more and more.
Beautiful. Yes. Love that. So if you've liked what you've heard and Claire's resonated with you, if you have any questions about how you can work with Claire, you can book a complimentary strategy session. So you can unleash your potential and thrive. And we'd love to help you take the next steps towards creating that life of joy, freedom, and fulfillment. So check out all the links below. And if you have any questions, just reach out. Thank you very much, Claire. I look forward to our next podcast. And thank you, listeners, for listening. Until next time, take care.
Bye-bye.